Today guest is no other than Mrs. World 2024, Julia Carolin. And it's an honor to have you because I can't wait for people to get to meet you and also tap into some of your wisdom. So, hi Julia, great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, all the way from Germany, right?
Yes, yes, Germany in the morning. It's pretty, well, the weather's not so nice outside, but we're gonna make it nice in here.
Yeah. And I met you as Mrs. World because I was an MC at an event you were working at, and there were several things that really stood out about you. And that is why I'm so grateful that you could take your time to come on here because I really can't wait really to be able to share some of the wisdom and some of the things that I observed that I think really helps people unlock the greatness because and yeah, I think a lot of people can find inspiration in some of the things based on your journey and what you really stand for, as I discovered as I got to know you even more. So
Yeah.
let's dive in with that. And if this is the first time listening in here, welcome to The Awakening, the show where we get to embrace fulfillment. Life is too short for dabbling or mediocrity. So let's make life the most rich and meaningful that we can make it.
Yes.
And Julia, could you share with us what or how did you really get into what you're doing with the Miss World and becoming Miss World?
It's actually interesting because I was never a pageant girl. I've never done a pageant before in my life. And the whole industry was something, honestly, that I looked at with yeah, I would say with two parts of it. One was, well, maybe it's a beauty pageant. There are women competing because of beauty, which was something that I really didn't get at all, and kind of antiquated, kind of way back when people did that, and a lot of prejudices in my head because of that. And the other one was, well, it's beautiful to watch those women step out there. So that's what kind of my first thoughts were about this. But the reason why I started doing this is actually my job. So I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and I work a lot with families and with children and also with veterans who seek trauma relief and with animal assisted therapy. And I'm always on the lookout for inspiration. I'm always looking for other people. How are they, solving problems? How are they working with kids with special needs? And I found Shaylin Ford, who used to be Mrs. World in 2021. And she has two autistic boys, and she has very beautiful content on her channel. And I saw, well, she was Mrs. World. What's that? So I began to talk to her about it. And she said, it's basically a stage that is set for married women who have, a charity project, a social cause they want to advocate for, and you get a huge stage. It's actually Elvis Presley's stage at Westgate Hotel to present your cause and, of course, yourself, and to do some self experience. Find, your purpose in life, maybe if you haven't found it yet. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to network with other powerful women. And that's how she got me hooked. And then I researched and I, put in the work and put in the time to really find out, is this something that could be a fit for me personally? And then my journey began, and I had 9 months to prep for Mrs. World.
9 months and she was born.
Well, yeah, in the end, I did. I never expected this to happen, but well, yeah, I think it was meant to be.
And you really hit the nail on the head with some of the things that I discovered, and it's that drive by a deeper mission.
Yes.
Because as you said, okay, it could be beautiful to see these women walking out on stage. However,
Yeah.
it's much more than that beauty part. It's much more than looking great because you share with me that this is a stage for you to bring your message. Could you share little bit more about that? Like, tell us more about what really drives you and how, like, from an entrepreneurial perspective, how has your mission made all the difference for you to really put in the work, as you said, be persistent, be determined to
Yes.
really achieve your goals. Could you share a little bit about that?
I think it's actually really the power source. Your inner purpose is the power source that makes you push through difficult times, that makes you pursue things that maybe felt uncomfortable before. And if you don't have that, you can still move forward, and you can still have a goal and you can try to achieve it. You can train for it. You can even, train for it 9 months. But I don't think it's going to feel the same. And I don't think you're going to be convinced that you are the winner in the end, to be, to shorten it up. Because if you have that purpose, and if you step out there and say, for me, it's the advocacy for children, for mental health for children and families. And that is something so close to my heart. And I've always been an advocate for that ever since I turned, let's say, 14, and I started volunteering in this field. I have never done anything else, and I never wanted to be anything else in my life than a child and adolescent psychiatrist. When I went to med school, and this is really true, I knew this from the beginning. This was what I wanted to do. There was no other choice for me, which is something people laugh about until today, because they're like, how did you know? I said, well, this was what I wanted to do. This was the power source that was already there. But my personal problem, or the thing that always held me back a little bit, was that in order to make it available, accessible to more people, you have to put it out there. You have to step into the spotlight. You have to step onto a stage, which was way out of my comfort zone. Trust me, as a doctor, you're not trained to be in the spotlight. That's not, they train you scientifically, and they train you to have the knowledge and to know how to technically work with people. Even the empathy part, they train you on that. You have the self-experience part, which is super important to know yourself if you want to help others, because you need to know your own triggers before that. But they never train you to advertise therapy. They never train you for this. So this was something that was, well, not only something that I have never done, but something that actually scared me, because you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to step on anyone's toes. You don't want to, be weird in your own field of work. So this was a new thing, and I really had to learn how to do that, and I really had to find my own way. But the most important thing was that I had to find my why, and that's what you were asking about. That's, your purpose, your inner motor, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter, but you gotta have this, because there's gonna be someone who's gonna question what you're doing. And it might be someone really close to you. It happened to me. It was within my own family, and that's fine. Because what it does actually is it makes you define your why even more precisely. It makes you think about it time and time again. And you get to, I wrote it down and I recited it in my head. And you have to train for interview. Interview is a big part of that pageant of Mrs. World, because the judges want to get to know you in your program, your charity. They really want to know what you want to do, what you have done so far. So it's really, they want the facts. So I had to train that anyway, but it's really more about allowing yourself to tap into that source of power and to say, okay, I'm going to embrace this full on. I'm going to win Mrs. World, which was actually something, it took me, I would say, at least up until 6 weeks to the pageant until I fully embraced that and said, I'm going to win Mrs. World. I'm not just going to go there. I'm going to win. And then I did, which was a self-experiment. It's so funny. And this is the best part of it. I love talking about this. It was a self-experiment. I've never done this before. I've never just trusted myself and believed in myself and my abilities. And this was the first time that I fully said, I'm going to do this. I have all it takes. I prepared to the fullest. This is something I have to say. I trained and I prepared every single day for this. So I put in everything that I possibly could. But then I said, you've done all this work. Just go ahead and believe in yourself. And I did.
And how are you able to really do that? Because as you said, when you're gonna expose yourself, going from a doctor's office, maybe that's one-to-one. The spotlight is not so big. It's private one-to-one, but then you step on the stage and now you're at the top of the world. And as you said, we can have all this chatter going on, like I don't want to step on someone's toes. We have these fears. Tell us, how have you been able to overcome that in a critical, like that monkey mind, that chatter that might see that down? How did you overcome that?
For me, it was mostly, I'm sorry, it was mostly about understanding that I have something to say that is really important, not just for me, but something that, I had a great education. I had a wonderful, beautiful upbringing. I have supportive family and friends, but not everybody has this. And this is something that I realized very early on when I was a child, that not every child has a beautiful home. Not every child gets supported in sports. at school with their education, their dreams, their goals. But still, some of them succeed and others don't. So I understood that, what I had is a treasure and it's something that is, I'm so grateful for every single day, but I wanted to share it. I wanted to make it available to others because I truly believe, if you have an environment that supports you, you have supportive, successful people around you, goal getters, people who dream, if you have that around you, that it kind of fertilizes your own potential. You can step into your full potential, even if, the circumstances were not perfect for you to grow up, or you didn't get the education you wanted, or at that time you didn't know what you wanted really, or you still don't. It doesn't really matter as long as at some point you find the people, the surrounding, and of course your own drive that makes you want to essentially give back in the end. First, you have to take care of yourself, which is something people sometimes that look upon that and they're like, but that's egoistic, that's an egoistic point of view. No, you have to take care of yourself. You have to nurture yourself. You have to take care of your body, of your soul, and then you can give back. That's something I truly believe in, what I see in my job every day. You can only do other people good if you're feeling good yourself. If you're not 100% there, sometimes it's fine. You can't be 100% every single day. You can still give something. But if you don't feel well, if you don't like yourself, the version of yourself that you're putting out there, go ahead and work on it, because it's going to be so much better afterwards. You're going to like it so much more. There's so much more you can give, and you can really inspire because people are going to see that you are authentic. And that's, what I embraced from Mrs. World and what my coach said, because he did not just prepare me to know how to walk and how to dress, but the mindset. And he said, like yourself in the way what you're doing there, and people are going to be drawn to that. That's something, I talk a lot about with people, that you kind of attract what you exude to the outside, what's in yourself. So that was something that I was completely authentic the whole week. From the moment I stepped off the plane until the moment I boarded the plane, they saw me, they saw Julia and no one else. And it wasn't really like I thought at any point that I had to change or that I had to kind of put on a show or something, because I was having so much fun. I enjoyed the whole process of getting to know these women of the stage. And I'm not a dancer, but we had to do this opening dance number. It's so funny. I have to share this actually, because
Can
that
you
was,
show us the dance? Oh.
yeah, we had to dance. We had to dance. Like, the opening number was a dance and it's choreographed, and they have Fred and Fred. It's wonderful choreographs there. But I never danced in my whole life. Never. I've never done anything. And there were like professional dancers and cheerleaders there who really knew their stuff. So for me, that was probably the most challenging part. And then they put me in the front row. Can you imagine that? They were
Hey,
like,
just have to step up in the moment, right?
Germany up here, front row. And I was like, yeah, but that, you just have to, from that moment, and I was just like, okay, this is now going to be my favorite part of the day. I'm just going to, trick my mind into, this is my favorite part of the day.
I love this, Julia, because you've been basically talking about being responsible all the time. You have such a great presence with yourself. Where are your thoughts? Where is your focus going? What are you telling yourself? Like, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna be Miss World.
Yeah,
I'm gonna enjoy this. This is gonna be the best
yeah,
part of the day. It's such high consciousness, such high awareness, and being present in the moment of, so you really can shape like that experience that you want. And you mentioned other things as well, like focusing on what you can be appreciative of. I love that. I can really see how profound that is, to really, for you to create the journey you want and make the
yes,
best out of it, because that's something I observed as well when I saw you working. I know that when you came into the event where we worked together, you you flew, or your travel started like 4 a.m. in the morning. Do you remember, right? And
exactly.
yeah. Okay, so you're traveling from early morning, and I understood that it takes some time with all the makeup, and you gotta dress up, and then you have photo shoot, and it's
Yes,
going on. It's like dinner in the night, and it's a party. So despite you being up from early morning, I always saw you energized. I always saw you with a smile on your face, head is up, ready for the next moment. What's the secret? How do you manage that? Because that's beautiful. And I just think it's such a great ability to have, to being like able to put yourself together in that way, to show up as the way
Yes.
you want. And because you said like how you are on the inside, that's what you're gonna attract. So just being able to do that. Tell us how you do this.
I think the core of it is really that I embrace that, having this crown on my head and a sash. I get this because I serve. So it's an attitude of service, really. But the other part of it is that you need to be healthy while you do that. You can't drain yourself. So there's always this healthy distance. I give you 100% myself. This is 100% authentic. But at the same time, there are things that are mine. And there are things that I don't need to share. And there are things that are okay if they're not perfect. Okay. I'm just a person. If you knew how many things did not go 100% right for Mrs. World, I have to do something with that because there are so many things that went wrong. I stepped on my dress. I had a pimple in my face, like right here, and all those kind of things that normally would throw you off in a beauty pageant. But it's so funny because when you understand that the core is the service of this, of my year, when I come there, all you want to do is be your healthy, best version of yourself. So what you said is an essential part. It's your body posture. Okay. So whenever I step off the plane or whenever, even when I go on the plane in the morning preparing for it, my shoulders are back. I take a deep breath. My head is up high, not here, but just so that I feel like I'm upright and I'm, really conscious of my body, if that makes sense. So when I stand somewhere, I will look at you with all my presence. I'll try to give you my whole presence. I'm not trying to hide somewhere and crouch away from you. If you're there for it, I'm definitely there for it. It's about forming a relation, and those events, you have to be fast. The moment that you can find a relationship with someone, have a meaningful conversation, or short. So you better be prepared. You better be open for that. But at the same time, take care of yourself. Don't be too open. If you have that positive energy, it's yours to share. It's not someone else's to take. And that's something that's in my head. So I share it with people. But when I say, okay, I'm done, I'm back in my hotel room, I need to recharge, then I recharge. And that's fine. If I don't want to take part in a party and an after party, that's not part of my job. I don't need to. I'll just retreat and say, okay, thank you so much for this.
Having
So
some healthy boundaries, right?
exactly, exactly. Boundaries is like one of the most important points, I think, there. So always know that it's your energy to share. It's not someone else's to take. This is something that helps me because people, they are attracted to positive energy, but not everybody is ready to give it back. Not everybody has positive energy yet to give it. Maybe they need you to kind of, help you maneuver around whatever it is that's stopping them. But it's your decision in the end, and yeah, like you said, you're basically the captain of that journey, and you can form it. Of course, there are, boundaries to everything, and I can't do magic, but it's kind of magical, actually. If you really have that mindset, that body posture, and you go out, that. I know that you know it. So you go out like that, people actually, they react to that, and you get something back, and that can be, it can be so beautiful.
Yes. And what is lovely about all these things is that it's within your control, like how you breathe, how you stand, where you put your head, that you actually put a smile on your face makes all the difference. And it's ourself that controls it. So it can change so fast. It can change in a moment. And as you said, with that, when we can show up with a smile and you give people your total presence, I totally agree with you. I think people will feel that and appreciate that, and that will attract more things. So we
It
can
does.
have the results that we want and get the success we want. Whatever success means to you that are listening, could be a happy marriage, maybe your kids,
Exactly.
maybe you make a successful business, maybe you make it to Mrs. World next year, whatever it is. But yeah, whatever success means. So
Yes, yes, it's universal. And it's something, I learned it through my Mrs. World journey, or it became conscious. I think I knew before, but it's more conscious now, and it's more, I can speak about it with words and not just feel it and experience it. But it doesn't matter what kind of journey it is. It could be something completely different. Like you just said, maybe you're building your business, or maybe you want to finish school, or maybe you feel like, you're trapped in a relationship, you want to change things, whatever that means. It could be anything, but it's this mindset of there are things we can't control, but there are a lot of things we can actually control. And if you take those and make them your utensils to produce whatever kind of version of your life you want to produce, there's a lot you can do actually.
Yes, yes. And with all things going on, as we make our way towards the end here with in this conversation with you, Julia, what is something you're working on today? You have a lot going on, like, okay, there's a lot of traveling, you have your family, you have a marriage. What is something you're working on these days?
Balance.
Oh, yeah.
Balance. I have access to these different, paths of my life now as a Mrs. World, as a doctor, but also as a wife and a mother, of course. And the key for me right now is finding balance because I am someone who wants to do really good in all parts of her life, but sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, okay, maybe today is not a day where I can fulfill something that has to do with Mrs. World. Maybe I just need to postpone that to another time, which is really difficult for me because I want to make people happy. I want to get work done. But this is something
You
that
have such high standards and you get
I
what you
do.
tolerate of yourself, so I understand.
I do. And it's a good thing to have high expectations, but at the same time, you know that if you overstress it, it's only going to result in the contrary of that. So you're not going to achieve anything because you focus on details and you lose yourself in something. So what I really am working on is taking care of my time because it's the most precious thing that we have. So I made time for this, for example, today. But after that, I'm completely a mom for the rest of the day. And that's something that's really important to me. And especially with the traveling, you know that I'm traveling like nonstop. It's really important to then, when you're home, really focus on what's important to you. That's what I'm working on right now.
I really appreciate your openness and vulnerability with what you're working on because, as you said, I'm just a human being. I'm
Yeah.
just a person, and yes, so that's awesome. I have one final question for you. Maybe you then have some final thoughts or comments you want to share. I'm just really curious. What does fulfillment means to you, Julia?
Fulfillment for me is the moment when I feel that the work that I put in, the knowledge that I give, the love that I give comes back in a way that someone feels better about themselves, about the world around them. They feel they have something to give as well. They are worthy. That's really fulfillment for me. And it doesn't matter if it's in private life or in my job.
That's really touching to hear, and it says so much about you, what you stand for, Julia.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
wow.
much.
And that is what really that's the essence of why I want to bring you up here because okay, I saw that okay, I'm gonna work at this fashion show and we're gonna have Miss World, we're gonna have Misses and Queens, and as you said, it's all these beautiful women. And I was really in a positive way, really surprised to get to see that it's driven by something so much deeper than just looking great because it's about having that impact, as you say, at a deeper level. Being there as a force for good, serve others, having a positive impact.
Yes.
So I really appreciate that you could take the time, that you decide to do so, be with us here today. I know, yeah, you have kids you could have been with, you could have been traveling, you could be working on your own journey and mission. So thank you very much for coming on. Do you have any final things or words you want to chip in? Feel free. Now is the time. So, but I just want to say thank you for coming on and taking that time.
I can only give that back. It was my absolute pleasure, and this is the best part of it to talk about the essence of why we're doing this, why we're putting ourselves out there. So this is an absolute pleasure to get to talk about that power source. And I think, if we present that to others, it's doable. It's nothing, only I can do, only you can do. It's something that everybody has access to, basically. You just need to find it. And it's been a pleasure to talk about that. So thank you.
Yeah. If people want to follow you, learn more about you, maybe they even want to receive some of your healing and work with you because you said, okay, you have your retreats, you work with trauma and you work healing with people through animals. I know you have talked about this here now, but I know you do have a work over in the US, but you also do in Europe.
Yes.
So how can people get in touch with you if someone is really interested? Okay, I want to learn more. I want to follow her. I want to be inspired, or maybe I actually get to experience your kind of work. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way to learn more is through the Mrs. World pageant page. So this is the one that I'm on right now, or my personal page, which is simply Julia Caroline with a C. So if you want to get in touch, if you want to see more of the work that I do, that's the easiest way.
Love that. Thanks for today, and make sure that you let Julia know in the comments how much you appreciate her, and share with us your biggest takeaway so we can support you on your journey. And thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep embracing fulfillment.